are going to go ahead and get started. We have a small group today, so that just means that you guys can ask questions as much as you want. I mean, you could do that anyway, but it's just going to be easier. So this is the Settings and Modules virtual PD. And in just a second, I'm going to start sharing my screen so that you can see the presentation. Heather is in the chat right now. So she's in there as ITFs of GCS. So if you have questions, then you can put them in the chat or unmute. I will say once I start sharing my screen, I won't be able to see the chat. So if you would, if you're not comfortable unmuting, or it's just a simple question, you just want to type it, put it in the chat. Heather will answer it, and she'll interrupt me and stop me if I need to show something again. So I am going to share my screen here. And in just a second, you're all going to see yourselves. Actually, not going to see yourself. You're going to all see your little profile pictures. So, all right. Hopefully you can see the presentation now. This is one part of the 4 offered sessions on the basics of Canvas. I will say before we get too far that both in the online module and in these virtual PD sessions, we purposefully scaled way back on what we were showing you. We did not want you to be even more overwhelmed than we know you already are, just with everything going on. So there are a lot of things that we chose not to include, or we chose not to show you yet. But just so you all know, we do have plans continuing throughout the year to release modules and virtual PD sessions to continually give you bite-sized pieces. So our goal is kind of slow and steady on all of this, to just kind of get you up and running at the beginning of the year, and then help you kind of grow in like small little steps instead of trying to like push it all on you at the beginning. Canvas can do a lot, which is really good, but that also means that there's a lot to cover. So if we don't answer your question, you can certainly email your ITF and we can get you an answer quick, but we can also push out that information to you down the road. Hopefully you've taken the online course already. This PD kind of builds on that. So the online course is the foundation, and it kind of shows you like the buttons to click and that sort of thing. We're going to go through that a little bit today, but we're also going to get into some tips and tricks as well. So strategies and things that you may not have thought of. So by now, you probably all know that you can log into Canvas through Rapid Identity and see EdCloud. And when you do that on your dashboard, you're going to click the red Canvas icon. Now, I will say that if you bookmark your Canvas dashboard, so if you are, I'm going to flip back over here, if you're on this page and you bookmark it, like I did here, it will not always make you sign in to NC EdCloud. It will remember you a lot of times. It will not always remember you. And I wish I could tell you like the rhyme or reason, but there seems to be none. Other than I do know when I shut my computer down, I do have to sign into NC EdCloud. However, if I use my bookmark to access Canvas, when I sign in, I skip the NC EdCloud dashboard here and just go straight into Canvas. So that is an option for you. It will save you a step. So on your Canvas dashboard, we're going to look at the anatomy of that in just a second. But some of you may have chosen to create a Sandbox course. And the whole idea of a Sandbox course is, if you think about a sandbox, then when you get into kind of play, you can build things, you can make things, but you can also just wipe it clean. And it's not really going to mess up anything. It can get messy, but at the end, it can just be kind of wiped off and ready to move. So that's the idea of a Sandbox course, is just a place to kind of play with things and click buttons and see what they do and learn just by kind of clicking around. You certainly don't have to have a Sandbox course. Some teachers are getting into their real courses and playing around with those. Students will not see anything in those real courses until both the first day of school and the things are published, until both of those things are met. So you can get in and play. They're not going to see anything until August 17th, and you've actually clicked publish. And we're going to look at that later in this session. So don't forget all of the Canvas support at the Gaston Digital website. Under the resources tab, there is a Canvas page and it has lots of good information there that can kind of guide you and provide you with additional resources and answers to your questions. You can always email your ITF, but there are also a lot of answers on the documents and everything on this site. We would also encourage you to join the Canvas Facebook Workplace group. That is going to be a place where you can share tips and tricks. We've started some discussions and some question and answers. We've posted some resources. We've been answering questions. So that's going to be a good place where you can go and kind of learn from each other. And I'm assuming, Heather, by now you've probably put the presentation in the chat, so you all probably have access to it. And if you need to refer to who your instructional technology facilitator is, you can find it on this slide. So the 5 of us will be supporting you. We're kind of the team helping to train you all on Canvas, both now and throughout the year. All right, so let's get into settings and modules. Just to kind of get us thinking and to make this a little more interactive, because I will say this this PD is probably the driest one. It's not the most fun to do, but it is in some ways the most important because it just sets the foundation and it sets up your course the way you want it to run. Being a little more interactive during this PD is just going to kind of spice it up a little bit. So what I would love for you to do in the Google Meet chat, you can click the little speech bubble in the top right corner. If you would, share your favorite organizational tip or trick. Now, it could be for learning. It could be for personal use. It could be for online learning, face-to-face learning, at home, whatever it may be. So I'm going to leave this slide up so you can see it for just a minute, and then I'm going to pop over so that I can see your responses. I'll say my favorite organizational tip or trick, even though I love technology, I live by a notebook. So it has my, like I have pages in there. It's got like my to-do list where I can like check it off. So that's kind of my life is in that notebook. And I don't know what I would do without it. So I'm going to hop over here and we're going to see if we've color notes. Yes, Adam. It's funny. Somebody in yesterday's session said color coding things as well. Heather and I are both like color code people for sure. And unfortunately, you can't color code in Canvas, but I am going to show you a way that you can add some visual appeal and visual organization to your modules. Is Adam the only one who likes to be organized? Some people don't like to be organized, and that's cool. Yeah, definitely lists. Yes, lots of lists. I like being able to check it off too. It's funny, Heather and I were just talking, we have like our Canvas to-do list, and we were talking about when we check something off, we have it in a Google Doc because you can collaborate back and forth. And right now we need to be able to do that. But we were just talking about how if we finish something on that list, do we want to delete it from the Google Doc, or do we want to move it to like an accomplished session or an accomplished section so that we can kind of see all the things that we've done. So checking off things on a to-do list gives you that really good feeling. All right, so if you're a to-do list person, there's a way that you can, not only you, but your students as well can kind of, in a way, have a to-do list in Canvas. So we'll look at that as well. All right, oops, let me go back. So in this presentation that you have, when you get it, throughout the presentation, again, it has all 4 sessions in one. So settings and modules is today, or is right now. There's also sessions on pages, assignments, and discussions. And we would encourage you to go to all 4 because you're going to learn different bits and pieces and tips and tricks for each of those 4. Throughout the presentation, you will see videos. They are silent, so don't think that your computer audio is broken or you've messed it up or anything. The videos are silent, and they're just meant for like a very, very quick, like, here's how you do this type thing. So you can refer to that, but you can also refer to the tutorial videos in the online module. We are also recording all of these sessions. They will be on the Gaston Digital website next week. And we also are working on a YouTube playlist where all of the Canvas videos, some as short as 20 seconds and some as long as 5 minutes, will be, so that you can go there. So we're really trying to give you a lot of different ways to get the help and the resources that you need. All right, so let's get into your account settings and navigation. I'm going to pop back and forth between the presentation and the dashboard. And just to make sure that I cover everything, and because the presentation is going to include more of the ways you can apply things. And in Canvas, I'm going to show you more of like the button pushing type things. So let's go over to Canvas. Like I said, when you log into Canvas, you are first of all going to be taken to your dashboard, and it's probably going to look similar to this. You're not going to have as many courses, but as PowerSchool, as your data managers complete scheduling, you'll see those courses start to come in to Canvas. So PowerSchool will sync, your students will automatically be in those courses. So that's going to make it a little easier to just jump right in day one. I'll also say with that, we are currently working on a student learning module where we are, it's going to be like a shortened version of the course that you guys went through, but it's going to be a way that your students can learn how to use Canvas so that you all don't have to teach them yourself. So we are working on that. That will be accessible to you by the workdays, so by August 10th. All right, so this is your dashboard. So a little bit, the anatomy here, you have your courses in here. You can also come up to the 3-dot menu. Now, I will say, just like with Google, anytime you see a 3-dot menu, click it, because that means there are more options, a lot of times options that are really, really good. For your dashboard, your options are what your dashboard view is. Now, I like card view because it mimics Google Classroom, quite honestly. It's also a lot quicker for me to see the different courses that I'm teaching. And I can drag and drop my courses. So I can reorder them into whatever order I want them to be in. So I could put them into first period, second period, third period, fourth period order. But I could change my dashboard view to list view and recent activity. Click around with those, see what you like, and you can certainly choose the dashboard that you want to have. You probably, on your dashboard, by default, color overlay is turned on. So your dashboard has like these like transparent colors covering the course cards or images. I have turned that off because I've uploaded a custom course card, which is kind of like setting your Google Classroom header. You can make a custom one. So I turned off the color overlay just so I could see the real color here. But again, personal preference. Over on the right-hand side is your to-do list. As a teacher, this is pretty much going to be everything you have to grade, which is pretty nice. It can get a little overwhelming depending on how many assignments you have and how many courses. But it's just a nice little snapshot of here are the things that you need to do as a teacher that you need to grade. I will say that, like for this one, let's say I'm not ready to grade it yet. I can actually click this X and you'll see a pop-up in the middle of my screen that tells me when someone else submits a new submission, that will appear again. So basically, I'm just hiding that notification until someone else submits. Of course, I can just leave them all there. Not going to hurt anything. I would be careful of just like Xing them all off because you may forget that you have something to grade. And then down here are additional things that I am a student in certain courses. So these are things that I need to do. So for your students, they will also have a to-do list over here, and it's going to list things, assignments, discussions, things that have due dates. It's going to put over here. Over on the far left is your teal Canvas navigation. This will always appear no matter where in Canvas you are, which is really, really nice because that means if you get lost in Canvas, and I can pretty much guarantee you will because I still do, you can click dashboard and you can come back home. So that is kind of my go-to is if I'm like deep into Canvas, I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know what course I'm in or how to get back to what I need. I come way over here, I click dashboard, and I just start from scratch. You also have courses here. Courses is going to be a little pop-up menu where you can jump from course to course. So again, if you're deep into first period's course and you want to jump into second period, you can come over here to this Canvas navigation that's always there and jump to another course. If you scroll all the way down in this little pop-up, you can click all courses, and it's going to bring you to a page where all of your courses are listed. What's really nice about coming here is you can star and unstar to tell Canvas what courses to put on your dashboard, so it's not so overwhelming. So I will say that past courses will always be in your Canvas account. So if you are a high school teacher, by the end of this school year, you'll have probably at least 8 courses in Canvas. Well, you probably don't want all of those on your dashboard because you're not necessarily going to need to access them all the time. So you can just unstar them to hide them, but you will always have access to them, whether they're starred or not. So that's where you can kind of customize which courses you see here on your dashboard. All right. Let me pop over. I just want to make sure. Okay. It looks like Heather is answering. Oh, custom cards, Amy. Okay. So Amy, good question. I'm gonna answer that question when we get into course specific settings. So give me about like 5 to 8 minutes. So let's go into account. We want to set our Canvas account settings. So these are the settings for across the board, my Canvas. So I'm going to click on account. Again, for the sake of time, I'm only going to hit the highlights here. So we're going to start with settings. So these are my Canvas account settings. On this page, this is where you can edit some of the basics. To edit anything, you're going to come over here to the right and you're going to click edit settings. And it's going to allow you to change things. The biggest one you need to make sure is correct is time zone. Because when you set assignment or discussion due dates and times, it's going to be based on your time zone. So you need to make sure that that matches up. This is also something that we will, or that will be included in the student learning module so that they're also on Eastern time and the times kind of match up and everything aligns. You can also come up here and you can click the little pencil on your profile picture to change your picture. We would highly encourage you to put a real picture there. Reason being, you are only seeing your students 2 days a week initially. So for them to start making that connection to you, because they're only seeing you physically 2 days a week, so to start making that connection to you and identifying you as kind of their teacher, the person that's helping them and guiding them along the way, to see your face appear is going to be even more important than maybe in the past where your student has walked into your room every day. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you are going to need to make sure that you hook up your Google Drive at least the first time. And that's going to allow you to embed and pull in all of your Google resources that you probably already have. You're going to do that on this page, but once you kind of authorize and link them up, then you will be good. You won't have to do it again. And like I said, this is your global Canvas. So once you do it here, then you'll be able to access your Google Drive from any of your courses. The other thing in accounts that we are going to look at is notifications. So again, over in the left-hand Canvas teal navigation, I clicked account and notifications. Notifications equal email. So each notification is an email. So you can imagine that's a lot of emails. So this is definitely something that you want to go through. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through every single possible notification that you have. I'm also not going to tell you what to do as far as notifications, but I'm just going to point out a couple of them that you probably want to consider, and I'm going to give you a suggestion for what I would do as far as notification timing. So at the top, it gives you the key here so that you know how often you're getting a notification for each item in this list. So for example, due date. If you hover over the title, Canvas is going to pop up and explain what that means. So when it comes to due date, you're choosing when you want to get an email when an assignment due date changes. So I can choose to get an email immediately, I can choose to get an email daily, or I can choose to get a weekly summary, or I can choose to never get anything. So you're going to kind of want to scroll through here and read each one. I will say some of these are going to apply, because again, this is Canvas, your Canvas account. So these are notifications not only for you as a teacher, but also for you as a student, because some courses you're a student in. So for example, grading policies. This is more for courses that I'm a student in, because if I'm a teacher and I change the grading policy, it's not going to notify me because I'm the one who made that change. But if I'm a student in a course and the course grading policy changes, how do I want to be notified? If you have any questions about any of these, email your ITF and we can help you decide kind of what is going to be best for you. I will say, I'm going to come down here. All submissions, so this will tell you as an instructor only. When do you want to get an email for an assignment submission? My recommendation is never, and here's why. If you're teaching in Canvas, you're going to be doing it every day. That's just kind of the nature of teaching in this situation and housing everything in Canvas. So if you're in Canvas, you don't need to get an email every time a student submits an assignment. Plus, if you teach 60, 90, 120 kids, do you want to get that many emails every time they submit something? Probably not. Also, you have your to-do list on the dashboard, which is going to tell you how many submissions you have to grade. So I have that turned off. What I have turned on, and I have turned on for daily, is submission comments. So that is anytime a student makes a submission on an assignment, they have a little comment box where they can choose to add a comment. The reason I have that turned on daily is because as the instructor, I want to be notified right away if a student puts a comment and asks me a question or asks me to review their assignment before the due date and give them some feedback. Or adds a comment. You just never know. I don't want to miss that as the teacher. I don't want my students to give me a comment and me not see it until it's too late. So I have that one set to daily, which means once a day, I'm going to get an email and it's going to include any submission comments. So I can just kind of skim through, see if there's anything that needs to be addressed. And if there is, then I can go into that specific student submission and address that. The other thing I'm going to point out is down here under the discussions. I would, for discussion post, again, this is similar to the assignment one. This is anytime someone replies to a discussion. Do you want to get an email? No, I do not. But I might want to get a weekly summary, and that's what I have mine set on. So once a week, Canvas is going to send an email that has all of the information that I want to get weekly, including any discussion posts. So again, once a week, I can just kind of scan through and see what's been posted. You may not want to get a weekly summary. Again, you're going to be in there every day. So if you are planning to check any discussions that you create, you may just want to turn that off. So again, all of this is really personal preference. We can just give you recommendations based on what each item is. And again, you can scroll down and choose for everything what you would like to get an email for. All right, I am going to come back to this presentation. All right, so we looked at setting a profile picture and how that can help build the relationship. We looked at notifications, and then keep in mind what you need to know immediately and what you just need to kind of be kept aware of and what you don't need to be notified of. Let me hop over. I just want to make sure. Okay, looks like there's no questions, so we're going to keep going. So let's get into course-specific information. So up until this point, this was global Canvas. It applied to all of my courses. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. Again, that's kind of the homing, that's home for me. And I am going to find my Sandbox course. And I'm going to click into it. All right, so now I am in a specific course. So everything I do from this point on is specific to a course, and you would need to do for each course. So we're going to start with settings for this course. So again, this teal canvas navigation always appears. Each course also has the blue navigation menu over here. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom because the bottom is settings. And I'm going to click back on course details. Canvas is going to remember which tab within settings you left on, and it's going to bring you in to that tab if you click settings again in the future. So on the course details page, Amy, this is where you would choose your image. So this is where you choose what your Canvas card on the dashboard looks like, and it will apply to on your student's end as well. So I can click choose image and I can upload an image. You can upload an image you find on Google. So you could Google search like polka dot background or something, and that could be your image card. Or the way I made my cards and the way a lot of the ITFs make our Canvas cards is we use the website Canva. Yes, very confusing, we know. But Canva is basically a graphic design site. I will say we have kind of on the short-term timeline a visual design module that we're going to release to you guys that will show you kind of the tips and tricks for adding some visual elements to your courses, including course cards. But if you are just gung-ho and too excited, you don't want to wait, email your ITF and we can give you kind of the down and dirty of using Canva to create your Canvas course cards. And then you would just upload them here. I'll also say, since this is on this page, you'll see Unsplash as an option in different places in the course. You will not be able to use Unsplash, and you don't want to. There are things there that you do not want to see. So we'll just leave it at that. So it is blocked. Right under your course card is the course name. Now, because your courses are syncing with PowerSchool, they're going to come in with whatever PowerSchool course name your class has. So I remember when I was in the classroom, some of mine were like SEM 1-6 ELA-001A or something kind of crazy. You can come in here and you can change it to First Block ELA. Your course code is just a shortened version of that. These two things are what appear right under your course image on those course cards on the dashboard. So you can customize that just to make it a little more clear for you and your students what the course actually is. Of course, if you do a custom course card and you put the name of the course there, then that also helps identify as well. So I'm going to skip some of this stuff again, just for the sake of time. If you get into it and you have questions about it, email your ITF. Your course start and end date should come in from PowerSchool based on the first and last day of either the semester if it's a semester course or the year if it's a year course. But right under that is some options for students viewing the course that you may want to look at. So the first one is students can only participate in the course between these dates. You want that selected. You don't want students to be able to do anything in the course before or after the start or end. However, they can see the course in a read-only state, which means just like with Google Classroom, at the end of the year, you may not be posting to the Google Classroom, but students can still see the stuff in there. If you want to restrict that, you can use these two options down here. So you can restrict students from viewing the course after the end date. You can do that. To be honest, I don't think it would hurt if students have access to those materials. I could see it could hurt if the students would share it with their friends. So there's that. But you may want that to allow them to view the course down the road in case they need to use it for review or something. It's up to you. And you can also restrict students from viewing the course before the start date. I would check that, which means the students can't even access the course before that start date. The reason I would do that is, if you can imagine, especially right now with everything going on, if my student just happens to know how to log into Canvas or figure it out and goes in August 13th and sees a bunch of stuff that you've published in preparation, you're probably going to get some emails of, do I need to do this now? Is this due on the 17th? When do I do this? How do I do this? I would just restrict it. They can't see anything until the first day of school. And then when it's released, you're there to answer those questions. I'm going to keep scrolling down. At the very bottom, there's this tiny option here called More Options that you want to click, because a little further down here is a couple things that you do want to consider. So you want to consider letting students attach files to discussions. I would turn that on. It's good for like virtual gallery walks. If you want more information on discussions, we are having, there will be another session of discussions PD tomorrow and one next week and the week after. You probably don't want students to create discussion topics, at least initially. More information on that is discussed in the discussion virtual PD, as well as letting students edit or delete their own discussion posts. So those are items that you want to consider, and the pros and cons of each are part of that virtual session. I would also uncheck so that students cannot organize their own groups. You don't want them to be able to do that. In my opinion, you don't want them to be able to do that, at least in the beginning. But I was very much that teacher that at the beginning of the year, my students were locked down. Like, they did not have a lot of freedom. And then as the year progressed and as we kind of built that environment and we built the expectations and the procedures, I would slowly kind of give them little bits of freedom as they could handle it. You're the teacher, you're the instructional leader in your classroom. You get to make that decision though. I would also at the beginning disable comments on announcements, and we're going to look at announcements in just a second. Make sure on any page where you make changes, at the very, very bottom, you're going to click the red either save or update button, so those changes you just made take effect. The other thing we're going to look at in your course settings is navigation. So I'm going to click over to the navigation tab here. As the teacher, you're always going to see all of the blue navigation options here. Your students will only see the ones that do not have the like no see icon. My recommendation is less is more, because just like you may be feeling overwhelmed with Canvas, your students are going to as well. They may be really tech savvy when it comes to certain apps on their phone, but you may have found that in March when they went home, they forgot how to use Google Classroom all of a sudden. Go figure, who knew? Now they're learning Canvas just like you are. So the fewer clicks you give them, the less likely it is for them to get lost in Canvas or distracted or confused. So the way you choose what you want students to see is by dragging and dropping from this top section up here to the bottom where it says hide them from students. This is personal preference. My recommendation is that the only thing students need to see are modules, announcements, and grades in the navigation. They will still be able to access discussions, assignments, quizzes, pages. They'll be able to get to all of that by going to the modules page. What the discussions and assignments navigation does is it allows students, if they click on assignments, to jump to a page that lists all of the assignments and only assignments. Could be good, but could be bad, because it also means that all those items, all those pages, all that, all the things that you posted between two assignments, that's kind of removed and taken out, which means students may miss some of that. So because students can still access all of that from the modules page, I think you should just hide it. Again, I need to come down here and click save. And when I do, you'll now notice that now I have the little no see eyeball on everything except for modules and grades. Now, why is announcements hidden? Because I don't want it hidden. The reason it's hidden is because I don't have an announcement posted in my course yet. So Canvas intuitively knows if I have not posted an announcement, there's no reason to include a link to that in the navigation because there's nothing there. So if you choose to allow discussions or assignments, that sort of thing, those will also automatically be hidden until there is something of that item posted. Once I post announcements, I'm going to show you that in just a second, you'll see that the eyeball disappears. I'm going to pop back over. Okay, good, Amy. Glad I answered your question. Course card, more options. Okay, cool. So we're going to skip that discussion question for now. We're going to look at announcements. But before we do, any questions on your account, the settings, either Canvas as a whole or course specific, notifications? I will say some questions I may refer you to the ITF just for the sake of time, but I'll try and answer as many as I can. How to make it not visible. Okay, so now to make something not visible, you're going to drag from the top down to the bottom section down here. And then you're going to have to click save at the bottom of the page. So you see, I have a long list of things that I don't want students to see. Again, you as a teacher, you will always see everything. Your students will not see everything. If it has a little crossed out eyeball, that means the students won't see it on their end. All right, I'm going to let Heather interrupt me if there are other questions, but I'm going to keep moving for the sake of time. So let's go into announcements. So over on the course navigation, I can click on announcements. And right now I don't have anything. Anywhere in Canvas where you want to add or create something, you're going to look for a button that has a plus, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to say beside it what you're creating. So plus announcement. So I'm going to click that. I can give it a title. Welcome to week 3. And I can type, this week we are learning, and I know I didn't capitalize that. This week we are learning blah, 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 blah. So at a very basic level, your announcement can just be text. Your rich content editor, so that's this box that you have, it is the exact same box that you have when creating assignments, pages, and discussions, which is nice because it just means it's going to be familiar to you. So you can bold things, you can italicize things, you can color code things. So Adam, you mentioned color coding. You can color code things here. You can do bullet points. So what if each Monday you posted an announcement and said, this week, here are our ICANN statements, or this week, here are the topics we're covering, or this week, here are the assignments you're going to have, to give kind of a preview for what's coming this week. Because again, some students you're not going to see until Thursday. You can also come over here to the 3-dot menu and you can hyperlink. So you can link words to outside like articles, like other websites. You can also link directly to items within Canvas. So you could say, this week we're learning blah, 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 bullet points, and then jump to this week's module by clicking here. I'm telling students clicking here, I can link to something in the course, and I can actually link to this week's module so that from this announcement, students can click this word and jump directly to the current module. I can also insert images. I can insert video. So if I click video and I click upload record, I can drag a file from my computer that I've saved. I can embed a YouTube video, or I could record. So what if, in addition to posting a weekly announcement on Mondays that had like a preview of the week, what if I also did a video announcement? So again, students are seeing my face because they're only seeing my face 2 times a week. And I'm also explaining verbally. They're seeing like my facial expressions. They're going to get more from video, a video announcement and video instructions. So now as a student, I can not only read the text, but I can watch my teacher's video. And it's just going to prevent some confusion and allow you to explain things a little bit in a little bit more detail than just a long text announcement. Because let's be honest, if the announcement's too long, students are not going to read it.
And can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So I found this morning and I thought it was cool. If you click that webcam button, you can actually turn it off. So those of you who don't want your face and you just want your audio recording, you can do that. I didn't know that until this morning.
Yeah, you certainly can. And there's no right way to do it. I would really, really encourage you to include your face. Again, because your students are only seeing you 2 days a week, it's going to be more difficult to build those relationships with them. But I also know it is super awkward to record yourself. And it has taken me a long time to get comfortable with using my webcam. I have had to force myself to do it. And eventually it just, I still don't like watching the video I make. But I'm at least comfortable now, like having my face on there. But yes, there is that option because you certainly don't have to show your face. There's just reasons why you may want to. All right, so that is our announcement. I can choose who to post the announcement to. So I can create groups in my course. Today's PD is not going to show you that, but email your ITF or the sign-in sheet that you're going to get at the end of this session. There's a space for questions. If you want to say something like, will you tell me how to do groups, then we'll follow up with you. So you could post an announcement just to your A-Day kids, and then you could post the same announcement again just to your B-Day kids later. So you could choose that. You can also delay.
Oh, we have a question. Will the students receive an alert when an announcement is posted?
Yes, only if their notifications are set to do that, which in the student module, we are going to tell them to make sure that they leave the notification on for immediate notification when announcements are posted. There's no way to control that students leave that on. However, students will always have access to all announcements over here in the navigation. So even if they go in and they change their own notification to not get emails for announcements, they will still see announcements over here. Just like with anything at the beginning of the school year, you're going to have to train them. You're going to have to train them that, on Monday you check your announcements, or on Wednesday you check your announcements. It's going to take time. And that's why I think being consistent and choosing, okay, I'm going to post an announcement every Monday is just going to provide the structure and the consistency that the students need. So you can delay posting too, which means on Wednesday, when all of my students are doing online learning, I can go in and I can set all my announcements up and I can choose to post them at a certain time. So I can schedule them, which I was still in the classroom when Google Classroom released that scheduling feature, and it was a lifesaver. So I am really, really glad that Canvas has that. I'm not going to delay posting. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and it's going to post immediately. So I'm going to see the view that students would have for the announcement. If I come over to announcements here, I'm going to see a list of all my announcements. I'm going to see when they were posted, date and timestamp, and the most recent one is going to be at the top. It's going to give me a little preview of what it says, and then of course I can click into it to see it. So I'll pop back over here. Some tips and tricks for announcements. Be present. Like I said, come up with like a consistent schedule of when you're going to post. I would highly recommend at least one weekly announcement that's kind of giving a preview for the week and what students can expect. It wouldn't hurt to do more. I don't know that I would do more than one a day, and even one a day might be too much, but that's kind of up to you. But it's just going to show students that you are involved, you are there, you are present, even if you're not physically with them, that the course is living, meaning it's changing, it's constantly being updated. I would say only use announcements for reminders and updates. Don't use announcements to post content. So for example, if you're getting ready to teach a unit on ancient Egypt, I would not post an announcement and say, this week, here's your video on ancient Egypt. Now, you could do that, but I would make sure that that video is also in your modules, because that's what students are going to kind of be working through. So I would keep announcements to just reminders and updates. Yearbook pictures. I'm sure at some point they're going to have their picture done. Who knows when? I don't know. But you could post an announcement. Don't forget Thursday's yearbook pictures. You can also just use announcements for fun things. So maybe one of your kids has a birthday. Post an announcement and say, hey, happy birthday, and include like a fun little GIF or video or something. So your announcements don't have to be all content related. Your announcements can be used for more of the like social, emotional, like positive classroom environment thing. And again, using images and video just to kind of spruce them up and add some visual appeal and also add some clarification can be good. So I'm going to pop back over to the chat, make sure we don't have any questions, but I also would love if you guys would also go into the chat and give some ideas. What are your initial thoughts about using announcements? How can you use that to build positive relationships with and between students? What are you kind of thinking? What was triggered in your mind as we were kind of looking at this? Let's share some ideas so that we can all walk away from this PD with kind of a list of things that we could do with an announcement right from the beginning. So again, what thoughts are you having on announcements? How can they be good to use, powerful? Y'all are super quiet today, aren't you? That's okay. Secretly, I'm coming back over here not just to look at the chat, but to make sure all of you have not left me alone just talking to my computer. Oh yeah, Amy, I like that. I like the weekly get to know your teachers. So I had thought of like, at least at the beginning, like a get to know your teacher, but I think a weekly like fun fact about me could be pretty cool. The focus of the week, absolutely. I like the idea of giving them a preview. A funny Spanish meme, yeah. So one of the principals that I used to, of one of the schools that I used to have in his weekly like staff email, he always included a meme. And to be honest, I look forward to it because you just never knew what you were going to get. Just make sure that they are appropriate memes. I'm sure you do. Yeah, a weekly motivational video for sure. Upcoming events, character traits, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can even give hey, coming up you can give like a this week and a down the road section that kind of tells them, whatever's coming. Definitely birthdays. I think birthdays, somebody shared that in yesterday's training and I hadn't even thought about that. But for all these kids who they're celebrating their birthday not at whatever birthday party place they would have been able to go to, just kind of getting like a shout out and an announcement can be fun. All right, I am going to come back over here. Let me check my time. Oh, gracious. We started 11:30, didn't we? Heather, do I really only have like 10 minutes left?
Yes, I just somehow thought we were going all the way until 1.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
I thought we just started.
So we're going to go fast on modules. We're recording this though, so you can refer back to it later. So let's jump over and I'm going to click on modules. So modules is where I would always direct students. So just like dashboard is home for you, if you get lost, modules is home within a course. So I would always tell students, go to modules, everything's in modules. What a module is a module is a way of grouping items. I think of modules as kind of a unit. So I'll show you what I mean by that. If I scroll down on my modules page, you'll see that I have groups of content. Each one is titled, and each one has an item or items in it, depending on how many I've chosen to put in there. I can rearrange modules by dragging and dropping, which is really nice. I can rearrange items within a module by dragging and dropping. One of the biggest things with modules and items in it is you have to publish it in order for your students to be able to access it. So the good thing is I can be working in the background like all I want, and kids are not going to see any of this stuff. Now, they will see this module title because I've published that, but they're not going to see anything in it. It's going to look empty to them until I come over here and click to turn it into a green check mark to publish it. So you just want to make sure that not only all of your items, but your module itself is published. To create a module, I'm going to look for that plus module button, and I'm going to give it a name. Now, this is where I would, if I were you, I would just kind of pause before you start like busting out all your modules and think about your naming convention to create that structure and consistency, not only for you, but also for your students. So this is kind of where the organization really comes in. Again, this is personal preference. This does not make it right. But going back to my time in the classroom, if I was naming modules, I would name them like Unit 3. Maybe Unit 3 takes me 3 weeks to teach based on the pacing guide and everything. So this is week 2 of Unit 3. And I'm going to add in parentheses, I always use ancient Egypt as my example because that was one of my favorite things to teach. So I'm going to add in parentheses the kind of big idea of that unit, the big concept. So now, not only do I have a way to identify things by unit or by topic, my students have a way to identify things by unit or by topic. I can also choose to lock the module until a certain date, which means students, even if I publish the module, students won't be able to do anything in it until this date and time that I set. I do not add prerequisites here. I do that later. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. So I'm going to add that module, and it is always going to add new modules to the very bottom. But remember, I can drag and drop if I need to move this module up. So I am going to move it up. And I'm going to make this my second module. To add things to a module, you're going to look for that plus button. Now, this is the one time out of 10 that the plus button does not tell you what you're actually creating. And the reason is because you have options of what you can create. So if I click the plus button, then I'm going to get to choose what I want to add to this module. Do I want an assignment, a quiz, a file? What do I want? So I'm going to add a text header first so I can show you what that is. And what I think would be really cool is to add a text header of your I can statement. So I'm just going to choose one that I've already used before just for the sake of time. So my I can statement, again, my students are only physically in my room 2 days a week. So they're only seeing the I can statement on the board 2 days a week. So I'm going to add an I can statement for the module, add item, and here it is. Now, it is literally only text. Like they can't do anything with this. They can't click on it. The only time they're going to see it is when they're on this modules page, but it kind of gives them like a little preview and it just puts it there. So then I can go in and I can add, instead of a text header, I'm going to add a page. I can either choose a page I've already used, which is kind of cool. So you could pull a page from like previous course materials and plop it into a module again. Or you click new page, give it a name, ancient Egypt. Sorry, I can't type. Add item. And here's a page. So I just keep adding items. And then for anything I want to edit, I'm going to have to click on it and then click edit. So again, I'm going to go back to modules. And y'all can see that the little eyeball and announcements disappeared. It took it a second, but it disappeared because now I have an announcement there. All right, so I'm going to publish that whole module all at once. And I can choose to unpublish something if I don't want kids to see everything yet. And I am going to go back into my module to set my prerequisites and requirements. So this is how you can lock down students and prevent them from getting to or moving on through a module. So I am going to, in the module title here, three-dot menu, click Edit. And you know what? I'm not going to lock it because I'm going to make it a prerequisite. So I'm going to set this so that students have to complete module 1 before they can get to this module. So I'm setting prerequisite. So prerequisites are, what do students have to do in order to get to and begin this module? I can also set a requirement. And a requirement is, when students are in this module, what are they required to do and how are they required to move through the module? For this module, if I add a requirement, I only have one item in this module. So I really only can require students to do one thing. But you have some options. So you can say students must complete all of these requirements. Now, these requirements means all of the ones that you have put down here. So you don't have to list everything in that module. You can list as many as you want, though. You can also say not only do they have to complete all the requirements, but they have to go through them in sequential order. What I would do is I would require all requirements. And I would list every item in that module. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to click Update Module. And I'm going to come up here to the module that has a bunch of stuff in it. And again, I'm going to go to the three-dot menu in the module title, Edit. And now you can see I have added all of my information here. So what you're going to do is you're going to click Add Requirement. You're going to choose what part of the module you want to add. So I want to require students on this page to view the item, which means they just have to load the page on their computer and it will check it off for them. I can also choose to make them mark it as done. And what that does is it puts a box in the top right corner that they actually have to click. So not only do I have to load the page, but I have to actually click the button that says Mark Done. So it's just kind of a way of like verifying, yes, I saw this page. Now, no, you don't actually know how much time they spent on the page. You can get into some analytics that's kind of coming down the road, but like bare basics, they'll be able to move on if they click the button. You can't really require like a certain time on the page. However, with discussions, you can require them to contribute to the page. So you can't move on in the module until you reply to the discussion. For assignments and quizzes, you can require them to view it, mark it as done. You can require them to just submit it. So before you move on, you have to at least submit your assignment. Or you can even lock it down further and say, you can't move on until you get a certain score. So that's a way that for A-Day, B-Day students, you can prevent certain students from moving on in a module until you're ready for them. Because you could set an assignment as like the last thing in a module. You could say they have to score at least this score. But me as a teacher, I'm only going to grade A students first, because when they get that score, then they'll be able to move on. And I'm going to wait to grade B students until Wednesday so that the module will appear Thursday when they're with me, or something like that. So that's a way to kind of work it to make modules appear at different times for different students. Because in general, a module is going to appear for everyone in the course at the same time. So I'm going to pop back over here. A couple tips and tricks really like super quickly, because I know it's 12:30 and I want to get you guys out because I know you only probably blocked an hour for this. Naming conventions, very, very important. Use emojis. So color coding. You can't color code modules. You can't color code like pages, but you could add an emoji in the title to identify what students are going to be asked to do. So maybe if it's an assignment, I will show you that in Canvas, assignments already have a little icon here. But you could add an emoji in the title. Or maybe if on a page, you're going to ask them to read something, you can put the little book emoji. This is my favorite website, emojicopy.com, but there's tons of them out there. I showed you how to publish, unpublish. Linking your modules to the homepage. That is a video that all middle school teachers, you should have gotten earlier this week. High school teachers, if that's something you want, put that in the question box for the sign-in page. You can also bookend modules. So you could do a page that's an introduction and conclusion, where you could include like the estimated time for completing the module, suggested times for breaks. So after you complete this page, take a brain break. You can label modules or label individual pages or assignments as online or classroom to help students identify what I'm doing at home and what I'm doing in the classroom. We would encourage you to put everything there, including resources. Even if your kids are doing paper pencil activities when they're sitting at their desk, if you have any resources or handouts or worksheets or guidelines or rubrics for what they're like drawing, maybe, put that in Canvas so they can reference it later. And then you can also copy and share items. For the sake of time, I'm not going to show you that, but there is a video on it too, so put that in the question box too. I apologize, that was probably just a tease. But there is a way you can copy items from one course to another one of your courses, and ways that you can share a page or an assignment or a discussion with like a PLC member, so you can divide and conquer and not have to create everything yourself.